Welcome back to the Act Two Podcasts, a podcast for the real life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I'm Josh Hallman.
And as a reminder, we're Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This podcast is just one of the many things that we do. We have a Patreon, we have a mentorship, we have live events where you can come and meet your fellow writers. We have a Patreon sort of Discord chat type thing. It's not Discord because it's Patreon, but it's a chat room where you can reach out to us directly. You talk to other writers, all of those things. And that's great.
I feel that might have been a slip. Are we going to incorporate Discord in the future?
I think it's probably inevitable to kind of create even more community. But if you don't like community and you'd rather just DM us personally, you can do that. You can send us questions. You can send us topic suggestions you might have, or just like something that's maybe happened in your writing life that you want to get off your chest because you don't have any other writers to talk to about it. Send them our way at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I'm there. I'm Story Thursday on Instagram. Still on fucking Twitter. Tasha 3.0 there.
So I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram. Josh Hallman on Twitter. Right before we were recording, I was talking about how I upgraded my phone and the technology. And I love technology. I love it. I love all this stuff. However, this new iPhone, it felt a little complicated to me, and I felt almost unnecessary. And I had this thought of, am I going to go back to really basic, archaic times where archaic in the sense of I'm just going to use my phone for like emails and photos maybe. This is all to say, when you were talking about social media, I was processing, is there going to be a time when I'm like, I'm off of it. I'm Josh Hallman, but I'm using a BlackBerry again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
BlackBerry. Whoa. Callback to another time.
Oh, that's a little old school.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a whole other topic. I feel
so
you.
this episode's about social media. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Plot twist. This is now what we're talking about. Joshua, do you have this week's in writings before we get into it?
Not really.
I don't either.
I'm not going to classify this as this week in writing.
Okay.
But I'm just going to throw this out there.
Okay.
I am working on a script with someone that's not you, actually. With someone else.
Betrayal.
Yeah, big time. And this is someone I've written with before. He's an actor, and I know you know who it is. Mm-hmm. And so we've been working on something, and something came back into my life. I'm basically in the area where I'm writing my pass right now. And he'll do these periodic check-ins. And it's starting to now like build up, internally, where I'm like, oh my God, it's not coming as far along as I want. And it's like the anxiety is like, there's more to, I can't explain it.
Like the check-ins are creating the anxiety?
Yeah. Like, oh man, I'm not as far as I should be. And it's almost like when a producer checks in,
Oh, I hate it. I hate when they check in. My heart always drops. Because I'm never where they want me to be.
Totally. Like people think you're done with the script and you're just entering act 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if that still happens to you, but it came up recently, like the random check-in. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I have a meeting next week with producers on something I'm working on, and I'm not where they want me to be. And I'm probably going to have to push it. I don't know. I don't know what to do, man.
I mean, and
it's not that I'm not working on it. It's just it's taking time to process and figure it all out.
Actually, it's funny because we're obviously writing something, and I think I've almost been hyper aware to never ask you about it.
I feel like I feel like I can feel you thinking about it all the way in Santa Monica. And I'm like, man, there's so much pressure, even though you're not texting me about it at all.
Sure.
Because I know I've let you down.
No. What if I'm just going to like send like cryptic text messages.
It's like when someone checks in with you and you're like, I haven't talked to this person in months. Why are they saying hi? You just be like, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, for
What's
sure.
up?
Hey, I'm just wondering what you're doing this afternoon.
What if I'm like, nothing. Why? What's up?
Oh, no reason.
Video
I'm
games.
just sitting in front of my computer. There's a collaboration button on Final Draft. Did you know that?
Oh, shit.
I'm just kidding.
Is there?
I'm just going to start sending you pictures of Final Draft. Is there? There has to be a collaboration. Yeah, I think there is. Anyway.
All right.
That's the end of that. What are we doing
Okay. Today we're talking about training montages because I bookmarked this page eons ago and finally actually sent it to Josh from The Ringer.
Oh my God. This is from 2017?
So when I say ages ago, I do mean years.
Okay.
We're only just talking about this. It lasts a test of time. Yeah.
It's like a screenwriting book.
Yeah. So there's this definitive ranking of movie training montages that The Ringer did. It's an article written by Andrew Grutadero, which I'm definitely saying incorrectly, from May 25th, 2017. However, what I really liked about it, we're not going to get into his big old list, but you can, and we'll add this link in our description. But he breaks down what he believes are the 4 core elements of a training montage. And I thought it was very interesting because he watched a shit ton of montages. And this was kind of his conclusion of what all montages tend to include. And so I thought we would go through that and see if he's correct or not, and give our free unrequested opinions, and then kind of talk about some of our favorite training montages as well, and why they work or why maybe they don't work or could be better.
Yeah. But I feel like this will also organically, we can do a whole other episode on montages. But I feel like there's overlap with a training montage and a Forrest Gump. Well, I guess Forrest Gump running would be a training montage. Like there's training. There's just like this gray area in terms of like a traditional montage that's not from, something that requires a training sequence.
Yeah. And then a montage that just sort of like moves the story forward in time.
Yes.
And montages that don't move the story in time. It's a montage that tells a particular type of story within the story. There's all kinds of montages. We're going to talk today about the training montage.
Before we dive into this, this article, and by the way, this article, I didn't even read the date on it and it was still relevant to me. So that's that. But as you said, as I looked at this, I thought in my head, this is so Tasha, because there has been times in the past, Tasha, where you'll respond to an email that I had written you from like 2 years prior.
At least.
But you respond as though it's like I asked you yesterday or something. Like, hey, you want to go to dinner? You're like, busy this week. I'm like, this was from February of 2019.
You are so not lying. I'm going to go back. I have an email from you. God, I have so many unopened emails. There was one you sent me of a movie once. Do you remember that?
Attack the Block? Yeah. I'm still mad.
When did this movie come out? This kills me because Josh loves this movie so much. And he's like, you have to see this movie. And I was like, okay, I promise I will. I've been wanting to see this movie. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to send you like an Apple, which shows how old it was. It's like an Apple link to watch it on iTunes or something. And then I just kept it at the bottom of my email for fucking years. I think I finally deleted it because I was like, it's not going to happen.
I don't even want you to watch it. It's actually, I know we're getting way off course. It actually angers me because of how great this movie is. This movie, I sent it to you so early that John Boyega has had a career in 3 Star Wars films. And I watched this movie and I was like, Tasha, you need to watch Attack the Block. This movie is So good for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
And that was like 12 years ago. And then you wouldn't watch it. So I was like, oh God, here. I bought you the movie. Just watch it now. And you still wouldn't watch it. I love Attack the Block. And I don't want you to ever see it. I think they're making a sequel, by the way. And I don't want you to see that either. You're banned from it. You're not allowed to watch it.
Oh, fuck.
Anyway.
All right.
So.
Does Attack the Block have a training sequence you want to talk about?
That's a great transition. I can't even remember. The movie's so old. There actually might be a montage, a training montage in Attack the Block of them gearing up to fight the alien, but I can't even remember. There should be.
I bet it's great. All right, let's get into the 4 core elements of a training montage, according to Andrew Grudadero.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. First thing is the reason. Why is this montage happening? It has to have a reason, right? It's not just like suddenly we decide to have a montage because it's fun. It's like the character is at a low point, or the character needs to do something that they are ill-equipped for, and there's some kind of thing at stake, whether it's humiliation if they don't do this, or in Footloose, it's like the kids can't be free and dance if they don't learn how to dance. In Mulan, it's bigger stakes. Like, we're not going to be able to defeat the Huns and save China. Like, the stakes can be very varied, but there should be stakes, some kind of goal that the hero needs to achieve, and that's why they go through this montage. So, reason, number 1.
Training montages work only when a movie is good and almost earns getting to the training montage itself. Mm. So you almost have to earn a montage. And we were kind of talking about, people who like training montages or don't like them. They're almost like flashbacks. Like, sometimes I feel like people have very strong opinions about using a flashback in a movie, or a montage, a training montage. And sometimes they're just totally necessary. And I guess I just wanted to ask you, as a general preference, do you like training montages?
I love them.
I do too.
I love them so much. I love watching them. I don't really love writing them necessarily, because it's kind of a boring write in a way. However, we're going to get into sort of how to make that more exciting.
Okay.
Once we get into it. But I love them so much. And it's so interesting. So I love them so much. And my manager and things I've written, she's read, and she's like, like, this could be better. I'm like, what are you talking about? The training montage? She's like, yeah, maybe just take it out. I'm like, I'm not taking out the training montage. It's important. She's like, why is it important? Then we have this argument, and then it turns out it's not that she doesn't like training montages. She just feels like they're all the same. So she's always trying to challenge me to figure out how to make it more interesting, more not training montagey. Like, almost, when a really good movie hits all the points it's supposed to hit at the exact pages it's supposed to hit, but you don't notice it because the movie is so good. Like, I feel like that's what she wants out of a training montage. Like, you're almost in the training montage before you realize you're in a training montage, and you see something like so unexpected. And I think that's a really great sort of principle to have hanging over your head. But I'm going to be honest, I fucking love a regular old training montage. It doesn't matter.
Same. I love them so much. So, I was getting ahead of ourselves. But yes, you said the first one. The reason. Am I going on to number 2?
Let's go.
Okay. This won't be easy acknowledgement. You're just acknowledging that, oh my God, whatever I have to go through to get to the end of wherever I'm trying to get, the reason got me here, but it's not going to be easy. Mm-hmm. We are going to podcast for years to get to where we need to go. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to do it every single week. And now we're about to hit that montage of us training on in a podcast room. But no, but that's like the number 2 thing you have to hit for the training montage.
Yeah. Just a real quick, he has a really funny joke in here about this part when he's talking about Dirty Dancing, which is on my list of the best training montages.
Me too.
But he in that movie, in Dirty Dancing, Patrick Swayze says ahead of the training montage, she can't even do the merengue. And that's an example of like, this won't be easy. And this guy says, I assume this is the sickest burn one dancer can give to another. So there's always, even in Dirty Dancing, this moment of, this is impossible. Like, you're not going to be able to do this. And the hero does it anyway.
Yeah.
Or the hero has to do it whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
It's great. It's fun because it creates this sense that there's so many odds and obstacles against your hero that it forces you to root for them, whether you sort of like me. It's almost like a save the cat thing. Like we always root for the underdog, and a good training montage puts your hero as an underdog right from the start. And so it's so satisfying to see them get over that hump by the end of this little montage.
That's how I looked at this. What we're reading is almost like a save the cat type thing, where it was like, these are the rules. And I think he's correct in all of these, much like Save the Cat has things that I think are accurate. But so anyway, so that's the second one. Number 3.
The third one is feats of strength. So a training montage has the character do something that is impressive. And it's interesting, like his little description here, I think, is a really good example of what my manager was talking about trying to make training montages feel different and interesting. And he gives an example of, you have like Rocky, who's just a dude hitting a heavy bag. Like, that could be interesting as part of a training montage, but it's kind of basic, right? But what if your training montage had a dude eating fish guts and then taking 2x4s to the chest? Like, that's a more interesting and impressive, just like a more impressive training sequence, but B, sort of bucks the system on what you'd expect a training to look like. And so there are little ways within the training montage that you can do sort of the unexpected to make people kind of lean in or be like, oh, that's cool, right? Like, get those really satisfying moments as a viewer.
Yeah, it's like a good set piece. You know, you're doing something that's been done before, but you're kind of figuring out your own unique spin on it. And like what you were just saying, you know, someone's taking 2x4s to the chest. That also, it sounds crazy that I'm saying this, but it is a character moment as well. You know, it's not just the normal training. You're going through the craziest training to get to where you need to be. And so I think it's just more than, you know, doing a bunch of pull-ups or whatever. Yeah. Here's number 4. This is probably my favorite part of all montages. The song. It says how a training montage is scored is perhaps the most important facet. Just ask Martin Scorsese, who's still kicking himself over passing on Survivor's Eye of the Tiger for Raging Bull. Oh, there's a joke that says claim still awaiting fact check. I was like, wait, what? This isn't really done in the writing, although I could see a version. I've seen this in writing before, and I've done this before, where you say cue Eye of the Tiger, and it goes into a training montage, or whatever song you want, cue this song, and it turns into your montage. But the song is insanely important. Yeah.
I've said just like cue epic rock song, because I'll let someone else pick, but that way you can at least like have a vibe in your head as you're reading. But I'm also notoriously bad at knowing music, so that's also my problem.
No, I was just thinking of Maverick when they do the beach volleyball scene. Yeah. Excuse me, the beach football scene.
The beach football, yeah. Both scenes have great songs from Top Gun and Maverick.
Yeah. What's funny is I've been in places before where the song from Maverick is playing, which I can hear in my head, and I'm definitely not going to sing here on the podcast. But I've been places where people have been like, "Oh, this is that song from Maverick. That movie's great." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. Hell yeah." That's why the music is so important to a training montage. Yeah. There's a bonus on here.
What's the bonus?
It says bonus point. As usual, bonus points will be rewarded for random but extraordinary things like clever camera work, cultural impact, and any mid-montage acknowledgement of improvement.
So being unique in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bonus points.
Bonus points.
Okay. All right, Joshua, can you name a script where you used a training montage and why did you do it?
Wow. Didn't know that question was coming. I have used a training montage. It was in an action movie, and it was to get a person ready to fight.
Yeah.
It was an ordinary individual, didn't know gadgets, didn't really know how to fight. And it was of course, it was like a two-hander, and the professional was teaching this person how to become equipped and ready to fight people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my version of it. And in writing that, I forgot how I did this, but I remember there was something in the montage that the girl kept learning over and over and over again. Like it was something they were focusing on. And then by the time she had to do that in real script life, she fumbled it and she didn't do it correctly. So it was like, I remember having that aspect in it. I don't know if it worked in the script or not, but yeah. Have you ever used a montage?
Even as I asked that question, I was like, I can't think of a time I used a montage. And then as you were answering, I remembered I used one in Red Sonja, but I believe I ended up cutting it.
Oh.
Because I think the feeling was, can I get there quicker? Just both in like page count, but also in like real time within the world of the movie. But have the same conclusion, because a good training montage has an arc to it, right? As Josh was saying, there is some kind of character development involved in that process. It's not just, now I have the skills to defeat the bad guy. It's I've learned something about myself in this process. I've changed as a human being in this process. And I had that bit in Red Sonja and realized I could probably get it in a more streamlined way. And it would just help sort of the pacing of the movie. So I actually ended up cutting it. So that's not a good story of a training montage. I also, yeah, of course, in another movie that I wrote, there's a training montage, and it's so fun because it's so fun, but it's so hard because you do have to remember that each beat not only has to be cool, visually it has to be really cool, and kind of there has to be some sort of wish fulfillment to the action that the hero is performing, that the audience can kind of, escape to and love and be jazzed by and excited by. But there also has to be a character point to that beat. So like you're saying, like, does the character fail in a certain way? And do they fail because they don't have confidence in that first early stage of the montage? And then later they try the same thing and they do really well. Like I'm remembering G.I. Jane, if you've ever seen that movie with Demi Moore. There's a whole really good training montage in that one. And one of the things she does is she and all the other Navy SEAL trainees are building a gun, and they have to build it in time. And there's a winner and everyone else is a loser. And the first time we see her do it early in the montage, she's like fumbling it, and the guy next to her, who's a dick, ends up winning and being snarky about it. And she's pissed off that she can't get the gun right. And then she continues to train. And then by the end of it, she's so efficient at getting this gun together, and she builds it first and beats the guy by like a second. And it's so satisfying. But again, like you have to have kind of that low point in order to earn that high point in the training montage.
Yeah. I know we're going to talk about montages we like, but you kind of brought up a point, and I just want to jump right into my all-time favorite.
Let's go. Let's just get
montage.
into it. Yeah.
Rocky IV.
Rocky IV is on my list.
Is it on your list, or is it on the top of your list?
It's on the top of my list.
Okay. Can I just say, okay.
It's 8 minutes long, by the way. It is a beast.
It's not long enough, because I'm going to tell you why. If anybody has not seen Rocky IV, you should go see Rocky IV. I don't know, maybe not. But this.
No, don't backtrack. This is a movie about like good versus evil at its heart. It's great.
All right, so here's why this montage is I'm just saying, like, I feel like this montage incorporates everything that is great about screenwriting and montages. Okay. Rocky Balboa. his friend has passed away, Apollo Creed. So now he is taking
His
on...
friend was murdered.
Yes. His friend was killed by Ivan Drago, who is now fighting. He will only fight Rocky in Russia. And Rocky is in despair. Ivan Drago is this machine. He is a killer. The odds are against Rocky. And then Rocky gets into a fight with his wife, who's like, you cannot fight this man. And he's like, I have to avenge Apollo, and I have to go fight Ivan Drago in Russia. So they get into this fucking blowout, and he leaves his wife and goes to cold Russia. And he gets stationed in this little cabin with nothing to train with, like nothing at all. He's training for a fight. Tasha, this is Rocky Balboa. How are you going to
fight? He could die.
He could die.
Because we've seen Ivan Drago kill someone else who's as good, if not better, than Rocky.
On top of that, he doesn't even have his training team he normally has because, his one trainer died in 3, so now we're in 4, and so he takes Apollo's training team. Anyway, we get to this cabin, and he has nothing to train with, but this montage kicks. And in this montage, we see his resiliency because he's running in the snow. He's doing sit-ups like off of a
barn.
Beam, somewhere in the barn. His wife comes back to him. He's being trailed by people, and he outruns them up a hill, and he's just getting stronger. The music is fantastic. On top of that, we see his opponent training, Ivan Drago, who is getting steroids injected in him, who is training on the exact opposite equipment that Rocky has. And so it's just setting this scene of like, this man is not equipped, Rocky. He's overcoming the odds. And now his partner is basically becoming a machine, a Terminator inside this other facility. I'm sorry, my explanation is almost longer than the montage itself, but I just want you to know I love this montage. It's the
so
best.
Good. Okay. It's so good. The juxtaposition, cutting back and forth to Ivan Drago, who is always connected to machines, and like you like get these like these shots of his massive thighs moving as he's like working on machines. And then you cut to like a similar shot of Rocky, but he's like doing it out in the wilds of like Siberia. And like one of my favorite juxtapositions is Drago's on one of those machines where you're kind of like down on all fours. It's like a mountain climber machine.
Right.
He's on one of those and he's all hooked up, and Ivan's always surrounded by like all these Russians in suits who are very serious, like monitoring him, his heart rate and timing him and all this stuff. So he's hooked up to these machines and he's doing this mountain climber machine. And then you cut to Rocky, who is out in the snow trying to pull a sled with someone on the sled. So it's the same exact movements, but it's like the most American montage you could possibly invent. It's insane. It's so I also don't care that it's 8 minutes because like the character of it is so fun to see that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But that's an example though where I don't like there's no character growth. Like it's really, in the 80s and the 90s had just a really fun time with montages. They sort of didn't care that characters were developing in it. Like the character development they wanted is the person getting stronger. And like, that's all they cared about. I think now, because we have seen so many montages, we require a little bit more, but it's very satisfying.
I'm here
still.
to disagree. I guess maybe he did just get stronger. Yeah, because he made up his mind. He's going to fight this guy. I just love that his wife came back to him. I feel like that's I know that's not a character moment, but it is very important for the growth of Rocky and his relationship and the story. So, okay, fine. Maybe it's not a character montage.
No, but it's fucking cool. It's fucking cool. And I think that's okay, right? For montages to just be fucking cool. Training montages.
Yes, but I feel that, excuse me, I feel like you have to earn that moment by having, like another one that comes to mind that I really love is Creed. Not to just stay within the Rocky universe, but it's almost impossible to just not cover the Rocky montages. But I think Creed is just also a fantastic montage, but I think it's like it's so earned, and there might not be the character growth in it or character moments in it, but it's all the character work before the montage to allow you to do that. It's almost like a free pass of being like, all right, time to do something fucking awesome. You don't need to do anything else. Just be cool and just get stronger, because we've done a ton of great, amazing character work up until this moment.
Have I told you the story of the first Rocky training montage? The sort of behind the scenes of it?
No.
It's really quite good. That's also one that's fantastic and is maybe a good one to just watch, to just like see like that. It is the most iconic training sequence that we always refer to. And if you ever Google training montages, Rocky repeatedly shows up, and it really starts with this one. And I think the reason why this one was so impactful is a lot of what Rocky went through. And it's really just like kind of it's a running montage combined with like punching and just like building stamina and showing that he's got the grit. And he's like punching pigs. So like there's an interesting visual because he works at a butcher shop. But the behind the scenes aspect is that there's that iconic scene shot where he's all in gray and he's running along the water.
Oh, yeah.
And it eventually continues, through, I guess, like Little Italy, like through the market. And of course, like ending at the even more iconic, like top of the steps where he does his like 2-arm thing. So it's that whole sequence. But running along the water, I guess Sylvester Stallone was like, all right, like, let me back in the car now. Because they're like shooting it in this car and like instead of a dolly, and they're sort of moving along with him. And he's like, can I get back? Like my side is hurting. Like this is, and they were like, run, just keep running. And they would just like make him go and go and go and kept shooting and kept shooting and shooting. So like him being genuinely tired and like all of that is not acting. It's him like really reaching for like digging deep inside to like find the strength it takes to get through that run. And then there's also, again, the shot where he is running through the market and everyone's watching him and they're kind of cheering, and those weren't extras. They really just like brought him through that. And of course people saw the cameras and they just started cheering, and like it was a whole thing. And so like all of that was sort of impromptu. Bit of it, but I really like the story behind how they like kind of made him miserable during this training montage in order to really like pull that emotion out of it. And it is, I think, one of the few Rocky montages where you do feel a lot of emotion in it. The others are just like fucking cool montages, like the Rocky IV one. So that's one to watch because it's almost just sort of a nuance of the training sequence rather than it being anything like particularly visually stunning or like something like so creative. So yeah.
That's great.
Okay. I'm going to go in a totally other direction.
Yeah, please.
Dirty Dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of that sort of middle of the movie is just a lot of training sequences. So you can kind of pick and choose your favorite. My favorite is Hungry Eyes. And every time, actually, like the main flaw of my marriage is that whenever we hear Hungry Eyes on the radio, I ask Paul, what does this make you think of? And he says, oh, my friend Deed. I'm like, no, it makes you think of me and it makes you think of Dirty Dancing. What are you talking about? That's like the only thing we argue about.
Although this song came out before we were together, make it think of me.
I love dancing training montages. Save the Last Dance is also on my list, so I'm just gonna kind of like bunch these together.
Oh wow! Save the Last Dance.
Oh, I mean, just like I don't. It gives me the same high as someone as like a gladiator who doesn't know how to fight, who learns how to train and become a great gladiator. Like there's something about the dancer who doesn't know how to dance, especially. I mean, maybe because like Patrick Swayze is so hot. So it's like a part of like her baby's journey in Dirty Dancing is also like falling in love with Patrick Swayze. And so a lot of the way that it's shot and choreographed is extremely sexy as well without being overtly sexual. So there's something like that to me is almost like the twist on the training montage is
Sure.
that it's adding relationship development in that in like really subtle ways, so that by the end of it, when they are intimate, you're like, well, of course they are, because they just went through this training montage together. Like that,
Yeah.
of course, it all makes sense. So I love it.
I do love dancing movies. I love Dirty Dancing. I love everything you just said. I completely agree with you.
Bring It On is on a lot of people's training montage list. So like dance movies are they're up there with training montage.
It's so exciting. It's like filled with energy. Like that's what's so great about a training montage. The movie Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
I almost didn't put this on my like training list, but then I thought about it and I was like, it kind of is. So if you remember, he gets trapped in this time loop when these aliens are invading, and it's basically Groundhog's Day action movie. Should have written it, but whatever. And he learns to fight, right? And so like the entire thing, and I love these. I'm trying to think of another example, but it's like he's training and then he dies and he wakes up again. Training, dies, does it again. And I love that, because it's kind of like I love when people are like in anything like Groundhog's Day, where people figure out the day and they're like, okay, I just need to get over there. And then it's like walking past something, going over here, sneaking past a car. And like, so you kind of learn how smart Tom Cruise is, and he learns how to fight. And I love that there's a time loop training montage in Edge of Tomorrow, which I'm all in on.
Yeah, that's right. I'd actually forgotten about that. But it's so, I think like one of the things that I love about it, and that's an example of a really unique training montage, because the character keeps dying. But it also combines that really satisfying thing that happens in time travel movies, where the character can, because they've been there before, predict the thing that's going to happen, which makes them stronger and makes them more capable. There's something just so satisfying about being able to kind of predict the future, maybe because as humans we cannot do that. And so like the power that person gets from being able to like tame time in that moment is just so satisfying. But that is a great example of a really unique way into a training montage. That's cool.
So back to dancing.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Well, one last thing about dancing montages. Yeah. They should and do follow the same rules and structure as a fighting training montage, where the character at the beginning is not equipped to do the thing they need to do. In Dirty Dancing, she cannot do the merengue, which she has to do in order to basically save her friends from being fired and ending their ability to survive. So like the stakes are emotional and they are high. And then in the process, she fails at a lot of things. She practices a lot. She continually starts to get better and also happens to fall in love. And there are unique settings in which she does this, which is partly what makes it really fun and unique. Her character is really fun and unique in the way she reacts to Patrick Swayze in some of these moments. And then you add the sexiness on top of it, and it becomes this just like really full feeling training montage.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it too.
I'm going to put that movie on in the background today.
I was just thinking of all the Disney movies that have training montages, or Pixar movies. Mulan, probably the top example. But,
also on my list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just thinking about like those are done so well sometimes, and every single animated movie that's ever come from Disney probably has a montage in it. Yeah.
Hercules has a really great one as well, where he's training. And those, Disney does a really good job because Disney movies are so short and because they are musicals, they do a really good job at making sure that those montages that have music to them are not only visually engaging, but tell a story, because they are meant to progress a character not only from point A to point B, being 0 to hero, as it is with Hercules, or, make a man out of you for Mulan. But the character has to be in a different emotional place by the end of that montage in order for the movie to function as like a 90-minute movie.
Right.
So those two movies in particular, I feel like Moana tries to do that. I've seen Moana a bajillion times and I love it so much, but I don't think it succeeds as well as Mulan or Hercules in using a musical montage to further Moana's character and her personality and like emotional arc. But Mulan and Hercules, I think, do for sure.
I cannot wait for Moana 2.
I'm pretty excited.
Oh my God.
I can't find a single person to go with me. My husband obviously loves Moana as much as me, or maybe not obviously, but he does. But like none of my friends want to see this movie, and I'm very confused by this.
Really?
Yeah, like adults still love Disney. What's happening? Do you know adults who want to go see this? I mean, you have a kid; it feels different.
I don't know any adults, but I haven't really asked any adults if they've seen Moana 2. I guess it wasn't on.
God damn it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. But
anyways,
I would invite you with Amelia and I, but that's sacred territory.
It's sacred. I don't want to impede.
Yeah, that's father-daughter time. That
better not go see it first without you.
Oh, Tasha.
I'm sorry. Low blow. Let's move on.
Okay. So one more. I'm switching around to a different kind of training montage, which I love. This is one that I really love. I had sent you this. Well, it's from Batman Begins, the training montage where Christian Bale trains with Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I love it. It ends with like Christian Bale, they're fighting all these different areas, and Bale's getting hit. He's Bruce Wayne, obviously, and he's getting stronger. And he's been fighting Liam Neeson on this icy pond or lake or whatever. And finally, he seems as though he's gotten the better of him. He's gotten stronger and he's fighting him, and it looks like he can deliver a death blow on Liam Neeson. And Liam Neeson's like, he says some kind of line, I don't know specific, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, you sacrificed strength for footing or something like that. And then he hits the ice, and then Bruce Wayne falls. Mm-hmm. So it's a training montage, but it almost ends with him learning a lesson.
Yeah.
And it's not that he didn't succeed fully, right? And that's what I think is so great about this montage. And like I was saying, I sent you this Christopher Nolan YouTube video, which whatever, it was like an essay on Nolan's montages and how complex they are. But I think he does such a good job. Christopher Nolan, obviously.
That's a really good point about Christian Bale failing at the end.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool moment because, and also what's interesting about that montage is even though he fails at the end, that he's up against like the best of the best in Liam Neeson. And he learns a lot and holds his own a lot to the point where he's better than the average person, right, even though he fails by the end. Just because Liam Neeson is so good that just being able to compete at all makes Christian Bale also really good. But yeah, that final moment where he fails, I didn't even think about that as a structure, but it's really cool because then Christopher Nolan isn't necessarily using the training montage to get him from point A to point B to be able to defeat the bad guy. It's more like getting him just proving that he can fight so that the audience buys that he can be Batman because he needs to learn how to fight. So it's doing that sort of A plot thing, but it's doing this B thing where it's showing that he still has a lot farther to go as a person. And that's very cool. And that's a way to sort of upturn the cliche training montage.
Absolutely.
and yeah, of course, he's the best of the best. So of course he would do that.
And yet it also works so well because of the fact that he becomes Batman after that. And he's there, but he's not 100% there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's great. It's great. It makes you sort of on the edge of your seat waiting for this character to fall somehow because he hasn't completely completed his training. Which is great. That's a really great place for the audience to be through that movie.
Yeah.
Man, he's so good.
Nolan.
So smart.
Yeah.
All right, I have one and then a bonus, and then I'm done.
I've got
I'm
one
sure
more.
We're missing a bajillion ones that we love, but this was just sort of what I came up with this morning. Wanted. And I sort of came up with this because my manager also worked on this movie. So this is one we talk about back and forth. It's like, but the Wanted training sequence is so good. She's like, yeah, but like, could it have been more unique? And in the Wanted training sequence, I think what's cool about that one, and not all training sequences do this, but I enjoy when they do, which is repeat moments. So in like the Rocky one we're talking about, it's just like
one different moment after the other. It's push-ups, it's mountain climbers, it's whatever. It's all a bunch of different things growing. And same with like Dirty Dancing. Well, Dirty Dancing has repeats. But this one has the curving bullet that he has to master. It has him reaching into the loom to try to grab something that's moving really quickly through it. So, basically really good reflexes. And it has him fighting a guy with butcher knives. And then a fourth repeat beat is him getting tied to a chair, getting punched. And how do you get out of that? So it repeats those, and then it's intercut with him researching the guy he needs to kill. So those are sort of the breaths in between the action parts.
Yeah.
And then it's him struggling with all four of those things until by the end of it, he succeeded and grown more confident and more capable. Where, like, for instance, when he's tied to a chair and getting punched, instead, he takes a punch and then he's able to get himself untied and then uses the chair to fight back against the guy who's been punching him this whole time. Whereas at the beginning of the montage, he was too weak and sort of too unable to have the wherewithal to do something like that. But the final hurdle he has to do is this curving bullet. And then you build emotionally to that, where Angelina Jolie, this woman that he's had a connection with growing over the course of this training montage, decides to put herself in the line of fire. Basically, you have to curve the bullet or you're going to kill me. What are you going to do? And so it is the final test of his confidence and his ability to do this. So it's an interesting way to structure a montage where you have basically just like 4 scenes that you keep repeating and showing your character inching forward in confidence and ability in all of those, and then intercut it with some breath, in this case, like the research, which still moves the story forward because he's researching and trying to figure out who this villain is that he has to defeat and what are his weaknesses, etc. So it's a really good example of a version of a montage.
That was fantastic. I love everything you just said. Yeah, that's a great movie, by the way. I had forgotten about that.
It is great. Okay, my bonus one is Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't think this training montage is great. However, there are bits of it that are just like, it's just like chef's kiss. And the one that comes to mind is basically Jean-Claude Van Damme has to learn how to fight in this Japanese style fight, and he's training with a Japanese family, and the trainer is basically like, you're not Japanese enough to succeed. You suck. You're a stupid American. So he's teaching him sort of all these like cool like meditation techniques and form and all this new stuff that Jean-Claude Van Damme doesn't know. But one of the things he has him do is serve him and his wife tea while blindfolded.
Oh.
And it's kind of so random. It's not fighting at all, but you can see how it's related. It's about like calmness and wherewithal, even though you can't see. Can you do something as delicate as serve tea while blindfolded? And if you can master those small movements, you can master anything while, blindfolded. And it's just finding those unique moments within.
Yeah.
And it makes sense within the world, right? He's Japanese. Tea ceremonies are really important in Japanese culture. Like it's not some random thing that they decided to pick to illustrate this. It's within the space of the montage, but it's sort of a nice surprise.
Oh, that's great. That's interesting. Because when you said Bloodsport, I thought you were just it was just all fighting. That's how I thought about it in my head, but I forgot that moment.
Yeah.
The last one I wanted to mention, which I had on my list, and I don't know why I didn't say this when I was talking Pixar, was The Incredibles, which I think is, a 10 out of 10 movie. I love the first Incredibles. Yeah. But Mr. Incredible has a moment where he's like training in secret from his family, and we get to see him become happier and happier. And it's almost like a arc for him. Like it works as a training montage, of course, to get him back into shape, and he's becoming stronger. And we get to see who this Mr. Incredible was, and he's becoming more fit. He's becoming happier in his life. He's being a better husband. He's becoming a better father. And so it kind of plays both worlds of becoming stronger, but also it's his passion, and it's what makes him happy.
That's a great example.
So there are a million other ones, but these are just, I think, some that just have come to mind, and prime example of, some training montage.
Yeah, I think it's a good array of what's out there and what people have done really well, and kind of pick and choose what makes the most sense for your script. But these are all things to consider when you decide to do a training montage.
Should we just write a movie so we can write a training montage?
I've been waiting for you to say that for so long.
Like, just a dance movie.
Oh, a dance fighting movie?
Oh my God. So it's an action movie.
Uh-huh.
And they have to get into somewhere at the end, and one person's going to have to fight and the other person's going to have to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. That's where it's leading to. Those are like the note cards on the board.
Or you know how there's some like martial arts that like takes its inspiration from dancing, or like they are like very fluid. What if it's like a combo? Like the martial art they have to learn is like both dancing but also like deadly.
Absolutely. Okay, this is the last thing. When I've been in physical therapy, as you might know, and it has been recommended that I do salsa or some kind of
your
dance.
Face.
Yeah, and just because I'm like, it's good for your back, your hips, and movement, and I just, I was just thinking in a fighting montage how it would work, where someone's like, and now you need to take salsa classes to help you move.
You're too stiff.
That's exactly right.
You gotta take some
loosen
dance
up.
lessons. Amazing.
All
right. Quote of the day.
Quote of the day.
This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. Toni Morrison.
Boom.
Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram, or on Twitter and Blue Sky at Tasha 3.0.
Oh, I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram, Joshua Hallman on Twitter.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.